Thank you for watching today. I am here with Mahriah Tucker. Mahriah is a good friend of mine and a realtor here in the South Florida area. Mahriah, welcome. Thank you for taking the time.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm so glad we get to talk today. We've talked a lot in the past, so it's really good to finally get this on recording and share your story with everybody. So before we get started, why don't you kind of give me a little bit of your bio, give everybody here who's watching some insight into who is Mahriah?
Okay. Well, I have been before I was a realtor, I was in banking for nearly 14 years, and not your traditional banking. I didn't work at a branch. I worked in corporate banking. So I have a very large background with respects to call center experience, human resources experience, tax certificates. But throughout my banking career, I ended up in REOs, tax certificates, bank-owned assets, which brought me to my real estate career, and ended up at Florida Community Bank for several years, being the vice president of asset management and liquidating REO portfolios, and managing all of these properties throughout the crisis. And then when the crisis sort of ended, I found myself without a job. And so that transitioned me into general real estate. And I've been doing that for the last several years. So that's kind of like my history there.
Very cool. So just for everyone here, when you say REO, what does that mean?
REO is short for real estate owned. So the bank owned real estate properties, or there's something called OREO, other real estate owned, because sometimes they end up with cars and motorcycles and boats and things like that. So
gotcha. So you were the repo police.
Sort of.
Nice. So that crisis that you talk about, that was the 2008 housing crisis.
Correct.
Okay. Got it. And so your transition into being a realtor was really fairly organic. Would you agree, or do you think it was more planned than that?
No, absolutely. The transition was super easy. I found myself with a severance package and just out there, not really knowing exactly what I wanted to do. So I said to myself, hey, I've already done so many real estate transactions throughout my career. Let's just take the test and go with it. And I did. And I did my first deal in 6 weeks. And then I was like, wow, this is pretty kind of easy and fun. And I liked the people and just went with it. And I've been doing it ever since. I really haven't looked back.
Gotcha. Well, and it's funny because, when you and I met, you were referred to me when I was buying my house in Coconut Creek, and we met and we hit it off right away, and we were like, we're going to be friends now. And it's great because we actually did. I mean, you certainly have that outgoing personality to connect with your buyers. That was pretty evident fairly early on, whether I liked it or not. We were going to be friends, but luckily for me, we were. But let me ask you this. So there's a lot of people right now who are in transition, and they're kind of exploring real estate as an opportunity of I guess, I don't want to say convenience, but maybe it's something that fits their lifestyle more. What do you think are like the top 2 things you have to be good at to be a successful realtor?
Well, being a real estate agent is not as easy as people think, right? So you say realtor, I say real estate agent. I also say real estate professional. It's not just being a realtor. You can't do it part-time. You can't be a bartender at night and a realtor by day, because you're helping people, you're guiding people, making the biggest decisions of their life, the biggest financial decision of their life, right? So you have to be knowledgeable, and you have to be personable. You have to understand. You don't want to sell somebody something that you wouldn't buy yourself. So you don't want to have that money. What is it called? When the money is in the back of your mind the whole time, it's called commission breath. You don't want to just have that. You want to make sure you're guiding people and making sure that they're making the right choice. So I would say knowledge and skill is very, very important when it comes to being a real estate professional.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm not a real estate agent, but I would also say being personable, because I think being able to develop that relationship with your client to really understand the question behind the questions that they're asking, right? I mean, when I bought my house, I was a first-time home buyer, then subsequently a first-time home seller. And
Right.
I'm sure there were questions I was asking that were so elementary, but you never made me feel dumb for asking the questions. I think that comfort level has to be there. Otherwise, you might as well be ordering a Big Mac and picking it up at the next window.
Absolutely. And you have to have the patience to answer those types of questions, because I may answer them every single day to every first time home buyer, but it's your journey when you buy your first home or sell your first home. And no, there's no dumb question. And I'm here to make sure that you understand the process and you understand, and I explain it to you. That way you don't feel like you've made a bad decision.
Yeah, no, and I can definitely be the testimonial to that one, because I don't like to feel dumb, and you definitely never made me feel dumb. So that was very pleasant. Thank you for that. So as we talk about those skills, right? I mean, you've told me a lot about, on a personal level, your circumstances growing up and the world you came from, and we certainly don't have to go into the details of that. But how have some of those challenges that maybe some people watching are facing or have faced, how has that shaped you as a professional in the banking world and then now in the real estate world, in that personable component? How do you feel like that has shaped you? Because we're all a product of our experiences, right? So how have your experiences shaped you?
Right. We're products of our experiences. We're products of our environments. I am a person who rose above my environment. You're dealt that first deck of cards when you're born, and those are the cards that you have to go with it. There's no other way. So I didn't have the greatest childhood upbringing. We weren't the richest. We weren't, where we lived wasn't the best. So I decided that at an early age that I just wanted to be different. I wanted to be successful and be professional and be educated. And that's exactly what I did. It basically drove me to where I am today, if that makes sense. It gave me the opportunity to change the course of my life and make it go in the direction that I chose, that I wanted it to go in.
Do you think everybody, and of course I assume there's exceptions, I don't like to believe that there are, but do you think everybody has that power to change their circumstance?
Absolutely, 100%. It doesn't, we didn't grow up with money. And now as a real estate professional, I have a significant savings account that I'm proud of. I didn't go out and buy things that I don't live above my means. I save well, I invest well, I make wise decisions. And I think that everybody has the opportunity to do that. There's just no other, I can't really explain it. There's just no reason why you can't shape the course of your life.
Yeah, I think in our society, for better or for worse, and again, I'm not insensitive to the fact that there are really bad situations out there that exist. I was very fortunate not to go through too many of them, at least not in childhood, in my formative years, but I do think there's a lot of excuses out there in the market right now, among all generations of all shapes, sizes, colors, everything. I think whenever there's an opportunity to kind of pass it off, I don't want to say a lot, but some people do. And I think that, kind of some of your experiences are absolutely opposite of that, right? You rose up, you said, screw this, I'm doing it in spite of my circumstances. And I think that's a really powerful place to be from a mindset perspective.
Absolutely. I'm somebody who has triumphed from personal tragedy. If that makes sense. Like if you really think about that, I carried on as if there was just that drive behind me to just push me forward instead of hold me back.
Yeah. And I think too, and again, like I probably have a little bit more insight into just based on some of the stories you've told me, but even if it's little itsy bitsy steps sometimes, right? So you don't always have to just take off in a sprint. It's not always a marathon from day one. Sometimes it's the crawling and then the stumbling and then the walking, and then the steps get bigger and bigger. You know, I think, and I've alluded to this into why I'm doing this video series. So many times we read these books or we hear these motivational talks, and people have already surpassed all of that, right? They're great, and they're looking back and reflecting on their life in, 40 years ago, 30 years ago, 20 years ago. But we're in a different world right now. I don't think anyone could argue that. And I think that, there's this pressure and there's this expectation to be absolutely at the top as fast as possible. And if you don't make $1 billion, you suck. And it's like, I mean, really, do you really need to make $1 billion? What are you even going to do with $1 billion? Right. So I think coming back to earth, so to speak, and I guess pun intended in this current space race we're in, what would be your advice to people to say, look, maybe life sucks, maybe you got dealt a bad hand, but you can still do it. What do you say to people who are maybe struggling right now?
Well, I would say to them, take a step back and look at your life, look at all the things that have, caused you to not perform and be successful, and try to get into a different mindset. Try to be grateful for what you do have. Try to figure out a plan for your future. It doesn't have to be about money. Money doesn't necessarily bring people joy and happiness. Stability, family, relationships, maybe your pets bring you happiness. Find your joy and go for it. That's what I have to tell people, because I will tell you that I did not have a lot of joy growing up. I never thought good about myself. I never thought that I was ever going to measure up. And I don't even know what I was trying to measure up to, because I didn't have anybody who was helping me, or anybody who I looked up to. I just put all this pressure on myself for no reason. And then I took a step back and I said, okay, just like what you said, baby steps. I took a step forward. I got a corporate job. I got promoted. I moved forward. I applied for another job. I became the vice president. All of that didn't happen overnight. I'm 42 years old, right? And so now I'm making the most money I've ever made in my life, but I always wasn't there. I mean, I know we're going to talk about past jobs, but I cleaned bathrooms on the weekend. And you're going to ask me if I ever regretted that. And no, it actually pushed me forward. I said to myself, okay, well, if I like this, I can continue to do it forever, but I don't like it. I just need the money right now, and it's going to help me get to my next step. And that was that next baby step to get out of that and do something else, become more professional, get a better job, whatever it is. Everybody can do something more than what they're already doing if they just try.
Yeah. And I think you touched on something that's super important. And I'm a big proponent of this. I don't think you have to see it to be it. Right. And you said that you didn't have anyone that you looked up to, that you didn't have this role model. You and I didn't grow up where the internet was around us 24/7 with a Pinterest quote here and a Richard Branson or Gary Vaynerchuk or Sheryl Sandberg, whoever, talking at you through this screen. So what did have the biggest impact on your life? Like, how did you make that decision? Like, you're not just inherently born with this. Something somewhere flipped that switch for you. What do you think that was?
That's a good question. God, what flipped the switch? I think just sort of just looking at my parents and saying to myself, I don't want to be like them. I don't want to be struggling like them. I don't want to be walking in their footsteps. And so my switch flipped at a young age. I said to myself, I'm going to go to college. I skipped a grade when I was younger. I wanted to get out of school, get into college, start making money, start building a different life than the life that I was born into, to be honest with you. I mean, some people, the switch flips when they're in college, when they're figuring out their major. the switch could flip. Maybe they got married at a young age and want to get divorced, and that's holding them back. Whatever time, however long it takes to get to where you need to get to, just do it. I mean, that's really truly my advice to people.
Yeah, I think, again, going back to these expectations that we put on ourselves, that we feel are being put on by other people, sometimes they really just don't even exist, right? Who says you have to have done X, Y, and Z by the time you're 30, right? Who says that? And I think, from my perspective, I see this stuff and it's affected me big time in my career. And I look at it, I'm like, you're a smart person. Why are you letting people who you would never have gone to for advice impart this expectation or these challenges on you? And you're like, just mindlessly going with it. It's such a weird phenomenon, and we get it bombarded with it, right? It's on TV, it's on the computer, it's in the email, it's in the Snap, the TikTok, the Instagram, the Facebook, the LinkedIn. I mean, the list goes on. Mm-hmm. I totally agree with you, though, that it's really on your own schedule.
We didn't grow up that way. We didn't grow up with all of this stuff, right?
Right.
So I never had anybody dictating my future. Only we made the choice to dictate our future. Now it's like, I feel like people, they don't have, or this young generation, they really don't have their own thoughts about anything. They're just following someone else or following something they saw. We had the opportunity, as when we were younger, to dictate our own future. And I think that's the big difference between us and the younger generation now, is we're a little bit more mature. Our experiences are a little bit more self-generated. The thoughts came from us, not from television and social media and, everything you just, outlined. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And it's interesting. Let me ask you this, though, just to play devil's advocate a little bit. Do you think the younger generation gets a bad rap for that? I mean, surely there are the standout kids who are going to be able to have their own thoughts, and they're very, very smart. Obviously, they're experienced in a different way with the coding and the HTML5 and all the, then I'm probably outdated even just saying HTML5. Who knows? I don't. I hire some kid to do that for me. But my point is, do you think they get a bad rap, or do you think we as what I'm vomiting as I say geriatric millennials, which it hurts a lot, do you think we don't understand them? Is it really us and them? I mean, where do you think?
They're our future, right? So it can't be us versus them, because we're going to rely on them one day to make decisions for our geriatric selves. Right. I do think as a society, we judge them, but we just have to let them blossom. We can't be jealous or upset that they have all of these resources that we didn't have growing up. But the reality television has shaped the future of our worlds, and we have to just go with it. We have to grow with it and go with it, and we just have to keep ourselves technologically, is that how you say it? Mm-hmm. Technology savvy, so that we're not left behind, because it's growing at a faster rate than ever before. I mean, if you really think about it, like, just even what you and I are doing, that was unheard of not even 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Zoom interviews 2 years ago. Now,
right.
Overnight, you wished you had bought Zoom stock.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the biggest things that, and we're early on in this conversation, obviously we still have a lot of time to chat about more stuff. I think one of the biggest threads, though, here is that you really do have the opportunity to make your own story, to think your own thoughts, to impose your own level of expectation of yourself, of others. That's okay. I think too often that is mislabeled as bossy or headstrong or insert every other adjective here. And honestly, it's fine. Do you have to learn how to do it with tact? Yes. Do you have to grow up not being an asshole? Yes. And I think that's super important. And but still, you get to make your own life. I always tell my friends, I'm like, it's your life too, right? You may have to do X, Y, and Z for work, but it's your life too. Not everything has to be for someone else. You're allowed to do things for yourself.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. So we've talked a lot about, jobs and all that, but what are you passionate about?
What am I passionate about? I really enjoy, I enjoy helping people. I really do. I mean, a lot of people come to me, they dump all of their stuff on me, and I don't mind. I like helping people throughout, with their problems, with their decisions. I mean, you and I both know I'm passionate about my dogs. I'm passionate about dog rescue, animal rescue, things like that. But what I really truly enjoy most, and it's been in every job that I've ever had or every career aspiration that I've ever had, is I enjoy helping people. When I was in banking, I used to just make sure that the person that was below me could take my job in the future. And some people have reached out to me over the years and said, thank you for helping me become the person I am today, because you gave it your 100%. And that's what I enjoy most, is giving 100% of effort and my time into helping people.
Yeah.
Cliche, but it's the truth.
Well, I mean, look, cliches are cliche for a reason, right? I mean, they make sense and they carry through generations. I think it's super important. And I mean, even the fact that you feel like, oh, if that was cliche, like why, it's fine that it was cliche. It makes sense.
It makes sense.
Right. And that's what you said is really interesting to me, because I'm very much similar in that aspect, where I like to raise people up, right? If I'm managing you, if I'm a leader to you, I want to raise you up. I want you to flourish in your career, whether that's with me and the current company or otherwise. But let me ask you about legacy, right? So you help a lot of dogs. You love that. You don't have children right now. What do you see as your legacy? Do you think about it?
Wow. What do I see as my legacy? No, I honestly, that's a good question that I've really haven't put much thought into, because I don't have children. I mean, this is going to sound harsh, but I just kind of didn't want to have children because I didn't want to continue on the cyclical cycle that my family has gone through, to be honest with you. I didn't really want to have a legacy. I think it's difficult to have a child during this time in this world. And when I talk to people who are my age who have children, and I say to them, so, okay, so if you were to have a child right now, would you? And they all say, I wouldn't take back having children for anything in the world. But to answer your question, no, I wouldn't do it right now. It's hard. So I really haven't thought about my legacy. I do donate a lot to charity. I do have my little brother as my beneficiary of my finances. So maybe he can become my legacy, or his children become my legacy if he chooses to have children. But I pretty much haven't really thought about like what my being is going to be when I'm gone, or who's going to be left behind to carry on anything that I've started. But yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. And I realized as you were talking that I totally gave you a loaded question, which I did not mean to.
Okay.
But
I answered it okay.
No, it was great. I think, there's a lot of people in our similar shoes where we don't have kids, and ironically enough, we default to that as being the legacy, right? That's the automatic, as if you don't have kids, there is no legacy. But I think that's maybe, I hope it's a little off base in that thinking, right? So there's so much more that you can do in life that does not necessarily revolve around kids. And again, I'm not saying there's anything wrong by any means with having kids, obviously. I mean, if that's someone's life plan, great. But I think that, and I've reflected a lot on this, and that's why I was curious about your perspective on it. I think that especially as you were talking about the people you've managed and how they've called you and said, oh my God, you've shaped my career. I think that's a part of a legacy.
That's a part of a legacy. Absolutely. 100%.
Yeah. And I mean, tell us more about your dogs, right? So you've rescued more than just Melly and Marty. What is your dog count up to?
Well, I've rescued 3. I mean, I'm not a crazy dog person, but I lose one, I rescue another, but I'm heavily involved in rescue. You know, I try to pair dogs up with people. I help find lost dogs. I donate to multiple charities that, you know, go above and beyond to help, you know, speak for the animals that, you know, can't speak for themselves. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, I donate to human charities too. I mean, I just donated a ton of shoes and clothes to women in distress and things like that. You know, I'm a fan of, you know, just helping any way I can, dogs, people.
Yeah, no, it's funny because
Sellers,
say again.
homeowners, buyers, sellers, anybody who needs help, I'm willing to, you know, jump on board with them.
You're like, this is a great house. Wouldn't it be great if you had a dog? Oh, I have a rescue for
I
you.
have a connection to a rescue that'll give you a dog, you know.
No, it's so important. I mean, how did you get into the whole dog rescue thing? Like,
So
why do you care?
when I was younger, I lived in a community. I bought a house in a community that had a 15-pound weight limit on dogs, right? So, I mean, I didn't really know anything. I was 20 years old. I had my first house. I bought a dog. And then, oh my gosh, you know, it's like, oh, buying a dog, it's like the worst thing you could do. And I instantly regretted it. I was like, oh my gosh, I have this boutique store-bought dog. And of course, you know, there's millions of dogs out there that are homeless. So I was like, oh my gosh, the next time I get a dog, I'm definitely going to rescue. So one day I was at work and somebody found this 3-pound little dog being attacked by a hawk out in parking. And this little tiny puppy, some rich a-hole just dumped it in the parking lot of the sales office where I was in real estate. And I was like, oh my gosh, like this is like the smallest little the dog ever. And Mr. Jellybean I named him, and I found him a home. And I was like, wow, that was my first rescue operation. I paired him up with the perfect home, and I kept in touch with the mom and all this stuff. And then when it was time for me to have another dog, I was buying my own home, right? And the lady who lived in the home that I'm currently sitting in right now, she couldn't keep her dog. She had a baby, she was getting divorced, she was moving into a condo, and she had this 80-pound Rottweiler mix that couldn't go into a condo because of the breed restriction and the weight restriction. So I said to her at my home inspection, I said, I'll keep her. And she's like, really? I said, yeah, I'll keep her. And I kept her, and I loved her for the whole, 5 years I had her. She ended up getting cancer and passing away. Her other mother kept in touch with me. I told her when she passed away, she was so sad. She continued to thank me up until that moment for resaving her, because she had already been a rescue. And I got another rescue because that rescue was sad. And then when it's just the constant revolving door of two dogs only. Must be
maxed out at 2.
Two is enough.
Yeah.
Two is like 10.
I've seen some of your photos, and we'll probably share your Instagram at the end of this, because your dogs they're like humans. They really are. They're 80-pound pit bulls.
One's an 80-pound pit bull mix, and the other one is a 65-pound bulldog mix.
I mean, they sound like they should be mean and chained up in a junkyard, except that they are human. They sleep in your bed with you. Yeah. They have expressions like little old men, even though one of them's a girl, one of them's a boy. I love it. I live vicariously through your Instagram, that's for sure. People
reach out to me daily and say they wish they were my dogs. They have the best life. And so I would give, I mean, they live a better life than me. So
well, that's even more of your legacy, I guess. So talk to me about success. What is, you've gone through, obviously you've had successes, you've had a lot of climbing up from, your background or whatever, overcoming. What does success look like to you?
For me personally, and other people won't say this, success to me is being happy and have a work-life balance. I have said that since the day I got promoted from receptionist to corporate recruiter, from administrative assistant to senior employment coordinator, from just a regular person to the vice president of corporate real estate. Those titles don't mean anything. Success to me is having a work-life balance and being happy in what you do. It's not about money. It's not about title. It's about being fulfilled at work and at home, honestly.
That's easier said than done, I think.
It is, because
So-
I'll be working at 10 o'clock at night, but if I'm watching The Bachelorette while I'm doing it, then for me, that's a work-life balance. So be it. I may be working at 10 o'clock at night, but I'm also doing something else I'm enjoying at home.
Yeah, I think, it's funny because that goes back to this whole expectation. Turn it off at 5 o'clock, no phones at the table. It's like, says who, right? If that works for you. I mean, I remember my last job, I would be sitting on my laptop, chatting maybe about work, but with someone from work at 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, still with whatever television show on. I won't share my guilty pleasures. But yeah, I mean, it's again, if as long as I was fine with it, who is anyone to tell me otherwise? Who is anyone to tell you you're wrong?
And I had a boss one time who didn't have a work-life balance. His work was his life, and he had no other balance. He was not married. He didn't have kids. And I said to him, on Wednesdays, I'm leaving at 5:30. I'm not staying here till 7 o'clock at night because you're here. If that's what you choose to do, that's fine. But my hours are 8:30 to 5. And on Wednesdays, I'm leaving by 5:30 because I want to take a spin class. And he sat back and thought about that for a second, like he didn't understand what I was saying to him. And then it dawned on him that when I interviewed for the job, I told him that a work-life balance was extremely important to me, and that I'm going to ever let him know if I feel like he's encroaching on that. And he was, and I told him, and he said, okay, go ahead. Make sure you're out of here by 5:15 on Wednesdays, because you want to get to a 6 o'clock spin class.
Right. And it's funny, because when you do set that boundary, again, tactfully, respectfully, you're not carpet bombing his office and just saying, screw you, I'm out, or I quit. I mean, there's
pestering about it and complaining about it to all the other employees.
Right.
Well, by the horns, and I let him know. I had another, you're always wanting to be competitive with your counterparts, right? So when I was a senior recruiter at Bank Atlantic, and I was sitting next to this woman, I remember her name was Jan. She would come in at like 7 and she would leave at like 8:30. And when I had a one-on-one with my boss, I tactfully said to that boss, I said, I work 8:30 to 5. I'm not going to be here all night long like Jan. And she said to me, Mahriah, what you do in 8 hours, Jan couldn't even do in 12. And then I knew that it was okay, but I'd never wanted to feel insecure. That's, to me, when you have insecurities or you feel inferior to your, the people that you work with, that creates like a hostile work environment, and that takes away from my work-life balance. So I've always been able to be honest with my employers or my boss or whomever that of how I feel and how I work, and I like to get that reassurance from them that what I'm doing and the decisions that I'm making are okay. Because even though I'm dictating my own future, I still reported to somebody at that time. Being my own boss now is different. I have my successes and my failures, they fall upon my shoulders only.
Sure. Yeah. And it's funny, you talked about that self-consciousness of, oh, well, Jan's here from 7:30 to 8, whatever, 12, 13 hours. And you're like, and you're comparing yourself against her, but no one told you to, right? Again, it comes back to like these things we said in our head that we then get self-conscious about, then we get an inferiority complex, and then it's imposters and all these isms and syndromes and whatever that are all right here. Right. And that mental toughness and that boundary setting and knowing yourself, what makes you happy, what's going to work. I think that's super important. I think that's, it's funny. I was talking with a friend of mine today, and she was saying how, she's been a little bit under the weather last week. And she's like, I got up, I had so much energy, but by 2 o'clock I needed to take a nap. And she's self-employed. She's an accountant. She works for herself on her own terms, but somehow this felt as if it wasn't good enough. And she said, oh, I had to go take a nap at 2 o'clock. But then I woke up at 6, ate dinner, and then was on the computer again, working till 10. I was like, so you actually worked more than an 8-hour day, like, till 2 and then again, 6 to 10. That's a long day. And I was like, oh, wait, right. It is, but you got your stuff done. Who says it has to be 8:30 to 5:30 or whatever?
Right. And why? And she shouldn't feel bad. She's not feeling good or taking a break, you and I obviously are friends, and this about me, but a few weeks ago I had a death in the family, and it's really disrupted my work performance. My pipeline has been affected, and I was, upset with myself that, I'm not working as hard. I'm not showing properties. I'm kind of like just putting everything on the back burner right now. And my boyfriend said, it's okay. You can do that. You're allowed to. Like, think about if you were back in corporate and you were taking bereavement time, or you had a paid vacation. But when you're in real estate and you're self-employed and you're commission based, you that's always in the back of your mind. But I had to say to myself, you know what, Mahriah, you're okay financially right now, and you deserve to take that time to regroup if you need to. And
right.
Taking a nap for her did that for her, and she woke up later and hit the ground running. And
right.
so it's just, that's what I try to do every day.
No, it's funny, when I first launched my company and I was working from home, I actually had to write office rules for myself. I probably shouldn't say this publicly, but I'm pretty much useless until about 11 o'clock in the morning. I am not a morning person. Everyone who knows me knows that fact. So why try to force it, right? So instead, I work like in 11 to 7 or 8, right? And I watch my TV at night. I go out, I do whatever. I go to bed, I sleep, I recover, and then I do it again the next day. But it's like I had to literally write down 11 o'clock is okay as long as you get it together and actually work, which has been phenomenal.
And for me, working from home has not been that great. I am more productive in an office environment, or like I'm in my office now, but leaving my house and even going to a Starbucks, I'm more productive, because, not to bring the dogs back into it, but I'm useless until 11 because of them.
Right.
They are needy as hell until 11. So, and I like to go to the gym at 5. So I can't just work 11 to 4. I need to get up, get out, and get to somewhere where I can have a little bit more focus.
How are we even friends? So you talked about the work-life balance and, being happy with whatever that is, right? So that's your definition of success. Do you feel successful?
I do feel successful.
That's powerful. That's a powerful statement.
Balance, because I already told you, I enjoy playtime with my dogs. I make sure I have time for the gym. I, work from home. I'm self-employed. I dictate my own time, my own schedule. And I would say that is successful in and of itself. And it gives me the work-life balance that I've always dreamed of.
That's awesome. And it's got to be a powerful feeling.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, for sure.
So as we start to wrap up, and we're not done yet, but what's next for Mahriah?
So continuing my real estate career, obviously I'm good at it. I pulled some stats if you care to.
Let's hear them. Brag. I love it.
I have closed about 9 million in a business so far this year. It's only July.
Wow.
I have about 2 million pending right now. I have 51 Zillow reviews that are 5-star reviews. I probably that's about like maybe 35 properties in the last 6 months. And we're on, like I said, we're only in July. So I would say that I'm good at what I do. I like what I do. Financially, I feel secure in what I do. So I'm going to continue that for now, but I'm not opposed to ever going back into a corporate environment. It's something I also truly enjoyed and liked. I like being around people. Right now I'm independent. I'm with myself. I basically just work for myself and set my own office hours and things like that. But I'm not opposed to, going back into corporate real estate or bank assets again in the future if the economy, requires me to do so. Right?
Got it.
It's all based on the foreclosures and things like that.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, so we're going to close it out with 5 random questions.
Ooh.
And they're kind of rapid fire, so don't think too long.
Okay.
They run the gamut. They're not loaded, I don't think. I hope not. So first one, what is a quote you live by?
Oh my God, you're killing me. Life is like a box of chocolates. You'll never know what you're going to get.
Well, fair enough. We talked about cliche earlier, but we'll give that one to you. If you won the lottery, where would you donate your money?
Clearly, I would donate the money to dog rescue and cancer research. Oh, and probably MS research.
Oh, fair enough. Heels or flats?
Flats all day.
What kind of car do you drive?
Lexus.
And who is your idol?
Ooh, who is my idol since Gosh, I don't know. Honestly, I don't really have an idol. Is that bad?
No, not bad. We're not judging. Okay, what's your favorite band? We'll go there. What's your favorite band?
Like Kobe Bryant would be like, you know what I'm saying? Like I've got to really think about like an idol, like a true idol.
Okay. So what's your favorite band then?
My favorite band would probably be Coldplay.
Huh. All right, cool. All right. Well, Mahriah, thank you so much for taking the time out. Obviously, you're very busy. Talk to me about who should connect with you, right? If there's anyone that is like, I want to get to know Mahriah or I want to work with Mahriah, who should contact you? Why should they contact you? Obviously, if you are in the South Florida area and you're selling or buying a home or thinking about it, talk to Mahriah.
Yeah, I mean, if it's real estate involved, certainly contact me. If it's to talk about overcoming childhood trauma and being, rising above your circumstances, call me, talk to me. I'm an open book. I don't really hide a lot of things. I'm very not really private with a lot of things. A lot of things about me. I'm more than happy to share my experiences and share what I did to overcome those things. And if you just want a friend, I'm also a good person to reach out to.
It's very true. Or if you need advice on adopting a dog.
Although
yes.
In rescue, it's like getting a job at NASA to get a dog. So
that is true. I looked at some of those applications.
Shelters.
Nice. All right. Well, we'll put your contact information in the text portion of this post. Okay. And again, just thank you so much for taking the time. This has been fantastic. I think we've really talked about some important topics. But certainly I hope people will get a lot of really good value from this. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
All right, awesome. Well, listen, we're going to cut the recording here. Feel free to read and comment below on anything you heard, and we'll see you on the next one. Thanks, Mahriah.
You're welcome. Thank you.